Maybe you're in a relationship with someone who genuinely cares and loves you, and something in you keeps waiting for him to leave. Maybe you've built a stable life, a career, a home. Everything on paper looks fine, but there is this low hum of anxiety that never completely turns off, like you're always bracing. Or maybe someone said something kind to you this week, a friend, a husband, a pastor, and your mind received the words, but your body just didn't believe them. That tightness in your chest right now, that subtle pulling back, that is not a character flaw. That is a nervous system doing exactly what it was trained to do. When the first man in your life, the one who was supposed to be safe, wasn't. Today, we are talking about the father wound, not as a theory, not as a label, as something your body is still holding right now and something you can begin to put down. So stay with me. Welcome to Elisha Space, a sanctuary for healing, growth, and for the kind of honest conversations that actually change things. I'm Elisha, your host, a counselor, an author, and someone who has sat in the same stuck places you have. And if you're new here, welcome home. And if you've been listening for a while, I can see you. And I'm so glad you're back. Today's episode is practical, clinical, but pastoral. And I want to say this before we go any further. This episode is going to ask something of you, not your performance, not your analysis, just your willingness to let what you already know on the inside finally make sense on the outside. Let's do it. I want to be careful with the term father wound because it can feel like blame or like an excuse. And I don't want you to dismiss what I'm about to say before your body has a chance to receive it. So let me ground it. The father wound is not simply having a bad dad. It is the cumulative imprint on your nervous system, your attachment patterns, your theology, and your baseline sense of safety in the world. When your earliest experience of a male authority figure communicated in ways large and small that you were not safe to be imperfect, not safe to be honest, not safe to take up space, not safe to simply exist and be loved without earning it. The wound can come from an absent father, someone who was physically present but emotionally unreachable, a man in the house who felt like a stranger. It can come from a volatile father, someone whose mood set the temperature of the entire home. You learn to read the air before you walk through the door. It can come from a critical father, someone who cataloged every flaw and rarely saw the whole child. It can come from an addicted father, an abusive father, or even a well-meaning father who simply never had the emotional architecture to give you what you needed. And here is what we do not talk about enough. That wound, whatever its particular shape, did not stay in your childhood memories. It was encoded in your body. I want to pause here and ask you something, and I want you to actually feel this, not just answer it intellectually. When you bring your father to mind right now, not the narrative you've rehearsed, but when you see his face, where does that land in your body? Is there tightness, heaviness, a kind of going blank? Does your breathing get shallower? That response, whatever just happened, is information. That is your nervous system telling you exactly what it's stored. Because knowledge isn't just power for trauma survivors. Knowledge is safety. So I want to walk you through what is actually happening in your body, because understanding this is part of how we begin to heal it. Your nervous system, particularly through the vagus nerve, which literally means wandering in Latin, because it travels from your brainstem all the way through your throat, your heart, your lungs, and into your gut. Your nervous system is constantly, silently asking one question: is this person safe? And your father, or the absence of your father, was the first answer your body was given. This is what researchers call the attachment imprint. Long before your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that analyzes and reasons, could weigh in, your nervous system was encoding a template, a definition. What does a man feel like? What does a male presence mean? What happens when someone has power over me? For those with safe fathers, that template learned: power is not dangerous, presence is comforting, I can breathe. For those fathers who were not saved, that template learned something else entirely. Maybe it learned: when someone gets close, I need to be careful. Maybe love always comes with conditions I need to figure out in advance. Maybe when a man goes quiet, something bad is about to happen. And here is the clinical piece I need you to hold. Your nervous system does not have a timestamp. It was never given the update. It learned a pattern in the first 10 years of your life, and unless it is specifically, intentionally retrained, it will continue running that pattern indefinitely. In your marriage, in your friendships, in your relationship with God. The amygdala, your brain's threat detection center, stores emotional memory without context. It does not know the difference between a memory from 1994 and the present moment. So when your husband uses a certain tone, when a pastor raises his voice, when someone you love goes quiet or silent, your amygdala can fire as if you were 7 years old again, standing in that kitchen, waiting. Your hands might get cold, your chest might close, you might shut down, or you might go into hyperdrive, fixing, appeasing, performing, anything to reestablish safety. That is not emotional immaturity. That is your nervous system doing exactly what it was designed to do. It's just stuck. So stay with me, because I want to show you where this specifically shows up in the body, in your relationships, and in your faith. Well, in the body. People with unhealed father wounds often carry the wound in specific physical locations. Chronic tension in the jaw and neck, which is the nervous system's braced position for someone might explode at any moment. Shallow breathing and chest tightness. Gut dysregulation, because remember, the vagus nerve runs all the way to your enteric nervous system. Your gut remembers, your stomach is keeping records. Many of my clients describe a low-grade vigilance that simply never turns off, a constant background scanning, a feeling that something is wrong even when everything appears fine. That is a hyper-aroused nervous system, and it is completely reversible, but we have to name it first. In relationships, the father wound creates an invisible template that gets unconsciously applied to every single relationship that follows. It often shows up as anxious attachment, the exhausting cycle of needing reassurance, the terror of abandonment, testing love repeatedly to see if it holds, or as avoidant attachment, the kind of emotional self-sufficiency that keeps people just far enough away that they can't wound you, or as fawning, the trauma response that says, if I can just be exactly what you need, I will stay safe. You may have found yourself in relationships that mirrored the dynamics of your father wound without realizing you were selecting them, not because you are broken, because your nervous system was following the only map it had. In your theology, and this is where I want to slow down, because for those of us in the faith, this is the most tender ground. If your father was absent, there is a place in you that wonders whether God is truly present or whether he is simply a doctrine. If your father was critical, there is a place in you that reads every single spiritual struggle as divine disappointment. If your father was volatile, prayer itself may feel unsafe because intimate access to a father figure still carries a threat your body remembers. And I want to say this clearly. There is not a faith crisis. That is a nervous system crisis wearing a theological clothing. His peace is not dependent on your circumstances being resolved. It is a regulated nervous system in the presence of a safe God. The path back to him, for many of us, runs directly through the body. Can I say something here? If you've been white-knuckling your faith, performing spiritual okayness while your nervous system is running a threat response every time you try to pray, I see you. That is not weakness. That is a wound that has never been addressed. And wounds, by their nature, can be treated. Clinical understanding without a pathway is just more information sitting on top of pain. So here are 4 movements towards healing the father wound at the nervous system level. I call this a reroute, not a rewrite. We are not asking your past to be different. We are asking your nervous system to receive new information. So the first movement is name the imprint without shame. Before your body can release something, it needs to know it's allowed to acknowledge it. The first movement is naming, in writing, out loud, in prayer, what your nervous system actually learned. Not, my dad was a bad person, but my nervous system learned that the male presence meant unpredictability. Or, my body learned that love required performance to be maintained. Or, I learned that silence in a man meant danger was coming. Write it down, say it to God, speak it to a safe person. Let what was invisible become visible. The second movement is to locate the wound in the body. And this is gentle somatic work. If you're in a safe place to receive this, I want to invite you to try this right now. Place your hands on your chest and feel the weight of your own palms. Feel your heartbeat. Take one slow breath in through your nose, hold for just a moment, and release slightly parted lips. Now, with your hands still here, ask your body, where does my father wound live? Don't force an answer, just notice. Is there contraction, holding, a weight that feels familiar? Let your nervous system hear that you are not running from it. You are with it. That distinction is everything. The third movement is receive the counter evidence. Your nervous system learned the father wound through repeated experience. It will unlearn it the same way, through repeated, embodied counter evidence. This looks like safe relationships where you practice staying present when your body wants to flee. Regulated prayer, where you bring your body into the presence of God before you bring your words. Scripture breathed slowly as a physiological input, not just theological information. The Lord is my shepherd, inhale. I shall not want, exhale. This isn't visualization. This is physiology. A fourth movement, grieve what you deserve. The father wound cannot fully heal without grief, because underneath the anxiety and the hypervigilance and the patterns, there is a child who deserved to be safe and was not. Grief is not weakness. Grief is the body's God-given mechanism for processing a loss that was real. You were owed a safe father. Many of us did not receive what we were owed. And we are allowed to say that. We are allowed to bring it to God and say, this was not okay. And I need you to be the father he couldn't be. He will meet you there. He has been waiting there. I want to walk you through a short practice. If you're driving, simply listen. If you're able to pause and receive this fully, I want to invite you to do that now. Place both hands on your chest. Feel the warmth of your own palms. Feel your heart beat beneath them. Take a slow breath in through your nose, hold and release through slightly parted lips. Again, breathe in and release. With your hands still here, say this internally or out loud. I am safe right now. Your nervous system may not fully believe that yet. That is okay. We are not asking it to believe, we are asking it to receive. Breathe in and out. Now, the Father I needed is here. He sees the child I was. He holds what my earthly father could not hold. Breathe in slowly and out. One more time. I am allowed to heal. I am allowed to grieve. I am allowed to receive what I was owed. Breathe in and out. Let your hands rest. Notice if anything shifted, even slightly. Even a millimeter of softness is evidence that your body is capable of receiving something new. Here is your one thing for this week. Not a list, one thing. Write a single sentence about what your nervous system learned from your father. And beneath it, write a single sentence about what you want it to learn now. That's the whole assignment. One sentence about what was, one sentence about what you're inviting in. Put it somewhere you'll see it, your phone, a sticky note, the inside of your Bible. You are rerouting the template. It does not happen in a moment, but it starts with the courage to name it. If this episode reached something in you today, if it named what you've been carrying, will you share it? Text it to one person you know needs this, because the father wound is one of the most under-addressed wounds in the church. And every time we say it out loud, it becomes a little less shameful for someone who is still hiding it. You can find the Start Guide for Somatic Regulation along with more resources at elishaspace.onpodium.com. And if you're ready to go deeper with someone walking beside you, Restoring You Christian Counseling is accepting new clients. Reach out through the website. Until next time, you are not too much, and you are not too far, and you are not alone.